hope everyone has a copy of the budget proposal in front of them. I'm just going to go through this. Feel free to stop me if you have questions or if you need further explanation. But this is the proposed budget for FY22. It's based on the General Assembly state revenue projections that were released in February of at the end of February 27th of 2021. Melinda and I did have a conversation with Kent Dickey with the budget office on Friday, and he reminded us that there is a veto session scheduled for early April, I think maybe next Tuesday. So revenue changes are possible. It also remains a preliminary budget since our application for ESSER funds, which is Emergency and Secretary of School Emergency Relief for COVID mitigation, has not been finalized. And once that is finalized, we'll have to do a budget revision, and also this will necessitate another appropriation for CARES for the current fiscal year and for next year. Our budget total is $12,071,587. That includes $11,566,744 for operations and $504,843 for the cafeteria fund. It represents an increase of 3.6 over the current budget. Total revenues and expenses for operations as well as the cafeteria fund are summarized on page 1 of the budget here. Revenue changes for operations include an increase of $359 in state funds based on a projected ADM of 940. And we've been advised to use the DOE ADM projection of 940. It might be, I don't think it'll be less than that. It could potentially be higher than that. But just, because of the closures and because of COVID, normally we would project our own ADM. This year we're going with DOE's. Okay. Federal funds include a decrease of $30,000 with the termination of Garrett, Virginia, and an increase of $104,000. These are the only ESSER funds I've included in the budget currently. We'll most likely include more later, but I have included those at this time to cover some positions that we hope to hire. It requires no increase in local funding. The budget approved by the General Assembly provides the state share of a compensation supplement based on a 5% salary increase for standards of quality, instructional and support positions effective July 1, 2021. This amount is $241,806 for our division. You've probably seen on the news across the state, school divisions are scrambling to try to get this money, to do what they can to try to, justify a salary increase or prove that they've done a salary increase. It can go over the biennium. This is another thing that we've discussed with Kent Dickey on Friday. This salary increase can be over a 2-year biennium. It doesn't just have to be all given this year, but it does have to be, the 5% has to be effective July 1 of 2021 forward. It's counted, the compensation supplement does become part of your budget going forward because it's counted in personnel services when they do the re-benchmarking, which means it's applied to the prevailing salary rate, and it is in our budget. It's not just for this year. It's not a one-time appropriation this year. It goes forward. And I clarified that with the department again, and I got an email saying, yes, indeed, that is the case. Another significant state funding increase for FY22 is $71,000 for at-risk programming. Obviously, this is a priority with Governor Northam. There's also a basic aid increase of about $40,000. We do have a decrease in summer school funding due to fewer eligible students from previous school years. So then I just have a summary of operational expenditure changes. And it includes the 4.9% increase in healthcare premiums that we've talked about before. That's $114,000. And we currently have 106 employees who participate in our local choice healthcare program. It includes the employment of a division-wide literacy coach position for a total of $68,000, including fringe benefits. It includes a teacher's salary scale realignment to equalize Covington City Public School salary steps 0 to 2 to the Allegheny County Public Teacher salary scale. And this will cost $56,800, including fringe benefits. I think all of you have seen our salary scales. I'm not sure if all of you have seen the county scales. When you compare our salary scales to the county, steps 0 through 12, the county scales are slightly higher. Our scales, of course, are higher on the upper end for the teachers with more years of service. We think using some of the new money that we've been allocated to try to equalize those salaries down at the low, for newer teachers down at the lower end, will help when consolidation occurs, because those teachers will be taken care of. Yeah, we hope that will help. It does include step increases for 113 eligible employees who had a cost of $57,000. Any employee who's reached the top of their salary scale is not eligible for a salary increase, and that's 23 employees. Does include the implementation of a minimum wage increase that we've talked about before. In the operation budget, that includes instructional aides and custodians. In the cafeteria budget, that includes cafeteria workers. This is the cost of about $20,000. Also, our instructional aides work a longer day than they do in Allegheny County Public Schools. We've tried to shorten up that day, which again is bringing our salaries more in line with their salary scales. We also back, I think, in the winter, we were having difficulty, obviously, as you know, recruiting bus drivers. So we did a realignment of the bus driver salary scales in order to recruit drivers. And of course, that implementation will carry forward into next year as well. And on an annualized basis, it will cost about $15,500. And as I mentioned, I included that $104,000 in ESSR COVID mitigation funds. I included that to cover a learning loss elementary teacher, a bus driver position, and a part-time custodian. And that $104,000 will cover those 3 positions. Our JRTC enrollment is up, and that will therefore our allocation to them will increase by $32,600. We do have to date 2 retirements and 1 termination for savings of approximately $40,000. So that pretty much covers the budget. The cafeteria expenses are fairly minimal. It does reflect the increase in minimum wage, but it is offset by the reduction of 1 staff person in the cafeteria program. So again, as I told you, Melinda and I talked to Mr. Dickey, and we do believe that the changes that I've noted here, plus the step increase that we gave last year, we will have to, our 5% will only be over the biennium. It will not be in this biennium. We can't do that, obviously. But over the course of the biennium, we do believe that it will average out. As I say, some people will receive no increase. Some people will receive far less than a 5%. Some people will receive, due to the minimum wage adjustment, they'll receive more. We're hoping for an average of 5%.
And that's the requirement, is the average of 5%.
That's the requirement to get the money. Now, I think if you can prove you do 3%, you'll get a portion of the money. But to get the full $241,000, you have to certify, and they will send a form to certify that you gave a 5% salary increase over the 2-year budget.
And the other thing, we've been cautioned by Mr. Dickey at the DOE is that we will run our ADM on 3/31 tomorrow and over the course of the next couple of weeks. So if we're not at that 940 or up, that will, as Rebecca said, either increase or decrease our funding that we can expect for this budget. We do think that this is a solid budget. It's a budget that has been scrutinized and also worked hard by Darlene and Rebecca over many, many weeks since we got our funding. And I do think it's one that is workable and does look at the big picture of what's happening in our locality.
I
So,
have had conversations with Mr. Witt, regarding, trying to, capture the new state money as well as equalize salaries, so, I don't know. I don't know, but, I think it is wise to try to utilize that money, if we can, to move in a direction that will perhaps make consolidation less costly. And I think it has not served us well in the past when we have not given step increases and gotten very far behind on that, and thus had to do a total and complete realignment. And I don't think that has served us well in the past. So,
Are there any questions from the board? Anybody?
You had mentioned the state's commitment to continuing support related to this, and,
the 241, huh?
okay.
Yes.
And that's, because I think,
And I actually have an email and I have that in writing.
okay, I was gonna say, I think it's always good
I
to
did.
have as
I
many
did.
different forms of that as possible.
Yes, I did.
And that is at least somewhat different from what their, any raise, carrot that they've dangled out there in the past, is that right?
No, usually when they do a compensation supplement, it is included in the re-benchmarking for future years. It normally is. Now, I will have to say that the compensation supplement is dependent on state revenues being what they were anticipated being. If they're not, they will not give it, and that's happened before.
Right.
That has happened before. We budgeted, we gave it actually, and the state withdrew the money.
Right.
That has happened.
Okay. Nothing we can do about that.
No.
But,
no.
Except I think we would have, I think this year we would have to adjust our budget.
Right, right.
I think we would have to make an
And you
adjustment.
stated that this is a preliminary budget because there's
I think
some.
so. I just think particularly with COVID mitigation
Yes.
funds, we're just going to be revising our budget, more and more.
Okay.
The only thing I'd like to say is that it does, as you can see on the third paragraph on Rebecca's cover sheet, that this requires no increase in local funds. So
Yeah.
I think we've done what we can with that. I think, again, it's a good, solid budget. I think, as Rebecca has stated, we may have to revisit it multiple times. We haven't gotten all the word on what the CARES or the new ESSERs or the ARP funds are going to do to our school division's budget. They're important, but we don't know how they're going to mingle with what we currently have. So I think this is a very good, solid budget for our fiscal year coming up.
Just a quick question. What is that ADM at this time?
We are hoping it comes in at 966, but again, because of coming in with the virtual students, and we're not exactly sure. I wouldn't want to predict it till we actually did the funding. Not the funding, did the poll of the data to see what it looks like. But it's been around 966, 970 most of the school year. And we can count those virtual students, and we have been, and they're a part of our ADM as well this school year. So we will run that report. We will have that number by the time our board meets, and the April board meeting, what our ADM is.
But most schools have been advised to use the 940 by DOE, is that correct? Okay.
I don't know if that's what they're doing, but we were advised early on
Okay.
to do that.
Melinda, you mentioned that you highlighted that she stated this budget requires no increase in local funds. That's based on what they've already, not promised, but stated that their funding would be.
Then we need to look carefully at our funding from them, yes.
Our local appropriation for the current fiscal year is $2,994,872, and that remains the same in this proposed budget.
Okay.
2,994,872.
It's on the first page, it's $2,994,872.
Outstanding.
Okay. Well, it seems like you done scrutinized, you done studied, you done your homework. I will entertain a motion for the approval of the budget. Proposed. Did you say it, Tanya?
Tanya did.
She did.
Okay, second?
A second.
Okay, all those in favor? Say
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay.